Alright everyone, welcome back again to some more Witch on the Holy Night. It is nearly 1 AM in the morning here, and this is how you can tell I've been enjoying playing this visual novel a lot. Like, it's been one of the few ones I've been waiting for it to be translated, and now that it's here, I'm just giddy. So, if anything guys, I hope you all continue to enjoy, because this has been a fun ride thus far. I can't wait to see where this story will take us to next, so if anything else, thank you all for love and support, and let's get right back into it. Alright everyone, and we're back.
テストの点数が低いのは生徒ではなく教育する側が無能だからです。教育委員会への報告準備はいつでもできていますので、と日夜脅してくるんですよ。それでも生徒たちが治らないようなら、その時は直接私が監督します。とか、生徒としてどうなんですかね、あれ。
The warm atmosphere in the room suddenly fell below freezing. The students of Class C now knew who their true enemy was.
ああ、そっか。山城先生生徒会の顧問だったっけ。ナム。
さすがは応援団を立ち直らせた女傑。教師一人退職に追い込むなど造作もねえ。やっぱりな。会長絶対年サバ読んでるって。あの迫力。同年代と思えねえし。ほら、うちの女子と比べると特にこうおっぱい的に。
先生、木の実だけでも A 組に引き取ってもらえませんか？そりゃ男子はみんな猿ですけど、こいつだけレベルの違う猿ですよ、絶対。
あれ、でも女子 A 組だけどあんまり成績良くねえよな。中の上ぐらいじゃなかったっけ？
そうだけど別にいいんじゃない。塾も行ってないし、生徒会仕切ってたまにバイトまでしてるんだから。あれで学年トップだったら逆に気持ち悪すぎ
だよな。首位は副会長に任せとけばいいんだよ。
まあ皆さん、噂話はそのあたりで。地獄耳という言葉もありますから。じゃあそれなりに復習をよろしく。あんまり点数が悪いと冬休みそのものがなくなりますからね。あ、それとしずきくん、ちょっといいですか？
Mr. Yamashiro gathered his things and beckoned for Sojiro to join him in the hallway. There were no other students to be seen despite it being break time between classes. Voices were audible in the distance, but the hall itself felt strangely quiet and calm. Perhaps it was due to the sense of confinement created by the lack of windows. Usually students spend their breaks either in their classrooms or on the veranda.
何ですか、山城先生。
いえ、そう大した用事じゃないんですけどね。試験前にこんな話をするのもデリカシーがないんですが、気になったので。
Though this level of concern from a teacher startled him, Sojiro felt reassured. It was only natural. After having had to deal with such difficult personalities lately, Mr. Yamashiro's trivial questions were refreshing.
はい。学校の作りや決まりなら自分なりに分かってきました。友達も増えましたし。
そっか、それはよかった。うちのクラスは口の悪い面々だけど、その分気を使わなくていいからね。しずきくんと相性が良くて助かったよ。
Sojiro's eyes shone brightly in appreciation. In Aoko's words, Mr. Yamashiro was a brutish, forgettable, downright detestable man who did not even deserve the title of teacher, but Sojiro found him considerate in his own way.
アルバイトもほどほどにね。試験前だって言えば、大抵のところは休ませてくれるから、あまり無理はしないように。また試験で困ったことがあったら周りに相談しなさい。一人で悩んでいても時間の無駄だよ。ほら、学校っていうのは話し相手にだけは困らないから。
With a wave of his hand, Mr. Yamashiro was gone. The pure-hearted Sojiro gave him a solemn nod as if to say he was accepted the advice of his so-called forgettable teacher and went back into his classroom. And then...
女のことで相談だ。
Sojiro had not wasted a moment in putting Mr. Yamashiro's advice into practice.
そうらしい。難問にぶち当たっているんだ。深く考えてみて気づいたんだが、どうも自分は発想が貧困らしい。
Sojiro averted his eyes out of shame over his lack of insight.
いや、豊かだと思ってたことがびっくりなんだけど。まあいい、こっち来い。
I like how he said you came to the right guy. Shocked as he was, Kinomi grabbed Sojiro by the shoulder and pulled him over to the wall. Kinomi had nearly burst out laughing when Sojiro with a straight face had admitted his difficulty with girls, but he realized it was the first time Sojiro had ever turned to him for advice. Sojiro was always able to break down any task at his part-time job into bite-sized pieces, but he was clearly struggling with a different problem now. This was gonna take some serious effort.
で、なんかやっちまったのか、よ。
これからやるのかもしれない。木の実、例えばの話、マッドベアにハリセンボンみたいな女の子が入ってきたとする。その子は俺が嫌いでマッドベアから出て行ってほしいようなんだけど、俺はマッドベアを辞めるわけにはいかない。
Sojiro explained that he couldn't just quit his part-time job at the restaurant, he needed the money. Kinomi grunted a few times to indicate he was still following Sojiro's story.
つまりその女を追い出したいと。
逆だ。なんとか認めてもらいたい。隠していたけど、俺はその女の子が嫌いというわけじゃなくて。
Sojiro furrowed his brow. Kinomi could not help but laugh at his friend's lack of manly resolve in his answer. Oh, sorry, manly resolve. Girls were the one area where Hosuke's skill and experience were a triple dose of Sojiro.
ははんははん。なんだよ。要はナンパかよ。むしろ仲良くなりたいってわけ？
Sojiro wasn't sure how to respond. He nodded slowly without really understanding the implication of what Kinomi had said.
けど、どうすればいいのかわからない。そもそもどうやって同い年の女の子と仲良く話ができるんだ？
クラスの女どもとは話してんじゃん。あれでいいんだっつの。俺は羨ましいっつの。持ち前の天然系で押してけばいいべ。山育ちってのは希少なアイデンティティだと思うぜ。珍しいものは生かさないとさ。
そうかな。珍しいというのはあんまりいいことじゃない気がする。だいたいそもそも嫌われている場合はどうすればいいんだ？クラスのみんなは親切だけど、相手はハリセンボンだ。いや、この際ハリネズミでもいい。
そういう場合はめげなきゃいいんだよ。相手が折れるのを待つって寸法だな。トゲだけに。
Sojiro's brows sunk deeper still.
この例え話はダメだ。
He needed more concrete material to work with.
ばっか。女なんてのは機嫌を取ってればいいんだよ。まずは女の趣味とか大事にしてるもんとか聞いて、そこをフォローすればいい。自分の都合より相手の都合だ。まずは外堀から攻めろってことだな。
外堀？外回りか。
もち。その後はまあ結局はこれが一番効果的なんだけどな。袖の下ってやつ？プレゼントで釣れ。そん時の需要と供給さえ合えば嫌われてても受け取ってもらえる。受け取らせちまえばあとはそれが義理になるってもんだ。
Kinomi then proclaimed with an odd sense of pride that this approach had resulted in only failure for him.
けど問題がある、木の実。確かにご飯とかそういうのをおごってもらうと嬉しいけど、
そんな金はないってんだろ。分かってる分かってる。仕方ないね。そういうしずきくんのために 一丁割のいいバイトを紹介してやろうじゃねえのよ。
They slid from the side of the classroom deeper to one corner. In front of the lockers where no one ever stayed for long. It would be days before Sojiro realized the suggestion he was receiving was of the legitimate kind, the kind he should not have shared with anyone. That night, dinner at the mansion was a feast of bread. Soft slices lay stacked in the center of the table, surrounded by variously colored jams. In a bowl was salad, mainly lettuce, with a small plate of unevenly cut ham. Sojiro may have had no frame of reference for what an average family dinner should be, but he could tell that this was most certainly not normal. In truth, it was first-rate case of laziness.
あ、チョコのペースト切れたままじゃん。アリス、新しいの買っておいてって言わなかった？
今日は一日部屋にこもっていたから。第一、チョコレートを食べるのはあなただけよ。自分のものは自分で調達をするべきね。
For these two girls, however, this dinner seemed to be completely normal. They had a system of irregularly taking turns being in charge of meals, and tonight was Alice's turn. Normally, she would spend as little time and effort as possible, only truly applying herself when there was something to celebrate. Of course, Sojiro was none the wiser to Alice's unique approach to food preparation. For him, it was a plain, lackluster meal. And when it came to dinner, not saying anything to each other was another staple of their meals. The sounds of cutlery and the scraping of chairs and the tick-tock of the clock were the only things to be heard in the sunroom. Sojiro himself had already eaten. At this moment, he was watching the goings-on from the drawing room.
Sojiro, 9時からアルバイトでしょ？行ってらっしゃい。私たちのことは気にしないでいいから。
ああ、じゃあ行ってくる。
Sojiro donned his coat with a goodbye nod. When Sojiro glanced again at the sunroom, he momentarily locked eyes with Alice, or so he imagined. She had been ignoring him all day, and not just refusing to talk to him, she had avoided him so much so as to not look at him all day until this very moment. He could understand if he was annoying her as the outsider in the mansion, but he felt no animosity in her gaze just now.
今の様子を見てたのかな。
Sojiro looked nervously at his surroundings for a moment before heading to the foyer. You know, I honestly like the little things that they implement in this BN. Like, just the door closing on its own from Sojiro also standing up from his seat in class. It's like the little things that matter here, because you don't see that often in BNs. But when they do put it, it's a treat. Alice only let her gaze return to normal when she was completely sure he was gone.
ああ、めんどくさ。
Aoko was appalled by Alice's brazen display. So much so her immaculate veneer of apathy crumbled.
何？献立に不満でもあるの？青子。
もちろんあるけど、いつものことだし慣れてるわよ。私が呆れてるのは、あんたの意地の悪さの方。徹底的に無視してるくせに、相手の反応を伺ってるなんてめめしくない？罠張って待ち受けるようなもんじゃない。
彼の反応なんて探ってないわ。そもそも興味がないもの。それと、今のは差別発言ね。めめしいという表現は女性軽視に過ぎるわ。今の場合なら、あなたは矛盾していると言ってちょうだい。
うわ、自覚ありときた。
Choosing not to rise to her roommate's jibe, Alice resumed eating. Aoko tore off pieces of bread and ate them one by one, anger still visible on her face.
じゃあここからは青崎青子としてじゃなく共犯者としての質問ね。アリス的に彼を見逃していいと思える判断材料はない？ありえないけど実は彼も魔術師でした
なんてオチであったとしても、ここに住まわせるのは容認できない？
その理由なら認めるわ。彼を許すのではなく、そんなことに気づかなかった私たちへのペナルティとして。そうね。今のは絶対にありえない話だけど、それと同じに絶対の結論もまたないわ。彼がここに住む選択を飲む場合すらあるかもしれない。気の迷いは私にだってあるのだし。
そういうことよ。今は私との義理とかプライドで冷静を保ってるあんただけど、あいつの努力次第で少しは。
それは諦めて。彼が何をしようと無駄だから。あなたも知っていると思うけど。
Alice had never been the type to let her guard down around others. The young witch despised humans, having recreated so many of their objects in fairy tales.
そんなのはあんた個人のトラウマでしょ。自分の意固地さを魔女の血統云々で棚上げするのはそれこそめめしいわ。いいじゃない。嫌いなら嫌いではっきりしてれば。私が気に食わないのはね、あんたのどっちつかずの態度よ、アリス。
どっちつかずの態度？
そう。無視するなら徹底して無視してやれって言ってるの。ガチガチに守りを固めて、そのくせ城門だけ開けて、獲物が油断して入ってきたら串刺しにする気満々とか、相棒として見てられないわ。あいつにできることなんて、閉ざされた門を開けることぐらいだっていうのに、その機会さえなくすのはどうなの？
ごめんなさい、青子。もう少し簡単に言って。その例えは、ちょっと。
Alice seemed unable to grasp Aoko's metaphor. Meanwhile, Aoko had had it up to here with her roommate's lack of self-awareness and was starting to lose her cool.
だから、興味ないとか言っておきながら粉かけるなってこと。あんなにチラチラ盗み見たら、あいつ変に勘違いしちゃうかもしれないでしょ。アリスはああ見えて、本当は自分と仲直りしたがっているに違いない。じゃあ早速部屋に押しかけてみよう。とか。
そういうことになるの？
なる。少なくとも私だったらいい加減イライラして、話があるなら校舎裏まで来いって決着つけかねないレベル。この毒婦。
That's a bit much.
そうだったのね。気をつけるわ。別に彼と話をする気はないんだし、私も彼を見ていたというより、彼の手足を見ていたのだし。
手足ってなんで？
手足は手足よ。彼個人には思うところはないけど、あの夜の出来事はまだ記憶に新しいから。それが少しだけ気になって、つい視線で追っていたのね。
あの夜って遊園地のこと？なんかしたっけあいつ。
Alice's expression soured. She still felt the sting of her defeat.
飛んだでしょ、彼。レールの上から私のダンプティに向かって。
そんなこと言ってたわね。勢いでつい1メートルぐらいだから飛んじゃったとか。
Aoko had not actually seen it in person, luckily. All she knew was that the spell she had placed on Sojiro was part of the reason he survived that jump of death. Alice, on the other hand, had observed the whole scene from the clock tower. It had only lasted an instant, but it had burned itself into her mind's eye, more than when her precious moon had fallen at Aoko's hands, and Flatsnark had come tumbling down.
でも、それがどうしたの？卵の敵討ちってわけ？
ダンプティは壊れるのが仕事だから、敵討ちも何もないわ。ただ、人間の体ってあんな風に動くんだなって。
As it goes, for someone with as little human interaction as Alice, Sojiro's leap must have appeared quite remarkable. particularly because his legs were orders of magnitude less capable than those of an animal in the forest. And yet, even with such feeble legs, with those meek arms of his, he managed to fly through the open air like a bird. To her, it was akin to the feeling city folk get when they see a wild creature in its natural habitat.
気にしないで。機会があるならもう一度見たいと思っただけ。別に彼に何を期待しているわけじゃないわ。
なるほど。アリスのプロイって大体が人型じゃないしね。単に物珍しさで見ていただけか。
Aoko sighed and released the tension from her shoulders. She was disappointed to discover that Alice's behavior stemmed from simple curiosity, like that of a child with a new toy. And Alice was in no position to take issue with her reaction. And how could she? She was not entirely sure what it was that she herself was feeling.
夕食、明日は私が作るから。試験前だってのに、こんなしょぼくれたもん食べさせられたら、一夜漬けする気合も湧かないわよ。
ご自由に。私も手が空いて助かるわ。
Night came and went in the mansion. For better or worse, the disturbances caused by the foreign invader had not yet caused the kettle to boil over. The next morning at 6:30, as sunlight spread out across the sky, Sojiro walked to school with Aoko in the chilly morning air.
いい？洋館にいるときは、極力一人にならないこと。
It was her intention to keep Sojiro safe until he left the mansion. Nonetheless.
眠い。6時から登校とか、あんたも働き者ね。
そうでもないよ。30分仕出しを手伝うだけだし。
His work ethic was a little too strong for a student entering finals.
それより青崎、無理してないか？別にこっちに付き合うことないんだぞ。
ご心配なく、生徒会室で仮眠取るから。約束だし、門までは一緒に行くわよ。
But internally, Aoko was worried. What traps did her roommate have in store for him? She could not imagine Alice had planned anything to go down the woods, but she wanted to be safe than sorry. The least she could do was accompany Sojiro to school. That much she was firmly committed to. Any traps that presented themselves could then be dealt with on the spot. Well, not dealt with so much as destroyed, since that was Aoko's forte. But that would be enough to keep him safe for the time being.
帰り道に関しては、アリスもそこまで暇ではないと信じるしかないんだけど。
If Alice was willing to put all her energy into a new trap after the first had failed, then they were as good as dead anyway. But Aoko would cross that road when she came to it. It all depended on how deep Alice's dislike of Sojiro really went. It would have to be enough to make her abandon her pride as a witch, something she had protected fervently until now. If that were the case, Aoko knew she would never be able to keep him safe. The moment 24/7 protection became necessary was the moment she had failed. Her character led her to focus on what she could do in the here and now and ignore the rest. And this current plan of hers was her best attempt at doing right by everyone. They left behind the Kuonji estate, and the two remained together until the residential area at the bottom of the hill, where Aoko glanced casually at Sojiro.
ところで、何か考えてる？
Surprisingly, Sojiro saw through her harmless question and sensed a bigger issue. How was he going to win Alice over? In fact, he had been thinking about that very question. According to his friend, there were 3 basic approaches he could take. One was the roundabout approach.
こいつは時間がかかるが最も自然だ。人間ってのは自分が好きなものを大切にされるとコロッと気を許しちまう仲間意識ってやつだな。
In other words, instead of focusing on the person one wishes to win over, one should focus on their interest. It was a surprisingly mature opinion coming from Kinomi. Unfortunately, Sojiro had no idea what sort of things Alice liked. She seemed very fond of the mansion, but what could he do? Clean it for her? He sensed that would have a reverse effect. He had the distinct feeling she would not want him touching what was precious to her. The second approach was to take the inner track.
でもやっぱり本人を落とすのが一番早い。俺たちに魅力がないのなら、魅力のある外付け装備に頼るのだ。そう、プレゼントなんだよ、しずきくん。
A quick and dirty strategy, the assassin's strike. Manipulate someone's feelings with an expensive gift. To Sojiro, this sounded like his best chance. The approach was easy for him to grasp, and he appreciated its simplicity. However, he had the same concerns as with the first approach. A step was missing, and without this step, the plan was bound to fail.
あとは、まあ、剣ってやつ？俺にはよくわかんないけどさ、やりすぎると悪い印象を持たれるとか殿下が言ってたな。私、今落とされてる？って意識させちゃダメなんだとよ。付き合った後で、あれ？私落とされた？と気づかせるのが上等なんだとか。
Though Sojiro did not quite grasp the details, he understood the basic idea. Don't press your luck. He knew that much was good advice. He would have to try extremely hard to get on Alice's good side. And he could tell it would be a long process to get there. Sojiro recalled the time he had wandered inside a fox's territory in the mountains. He had left some food on the ground for the fox, and then it never bothered him again. What is considered goodwill and kindness varies from person to person. But if there is enough goodwill from one side, regardless of whether that goodwill is reciprocated, the other side will eventually start to feel an obligation to do so. That was key.
大丈夫。考えてるよ。とりあえず自分にできることとか、したいことをしようと思う。
That's true. You can only do what you can do.
安心してくれ。青崎に忠告されたことすら、きちんと守る方針だ。
Sojiro seemed ready to face things head on. His answer did little to reassure Aoko, however. She found herself more concerned about his safety than ever before.
学校にあるようなほうきが欲しい。
そうなんだ。できれば安く買えるところ。
しずきの家、アパートよね。ほうきなんてもの必要とは思えないけど。
いや、ちょっと気になるところがあって掃除がしたいんだ。ゴミ袋もあると助かる。
無駄な出費はできないって言ってたくせに。まあどうでもいいけど、うちのでよければ使う？貸してあげましょうか？
多分1日じゃ終わらないから自分で買うよ。元から欲しかったものだし、あると便利だよ、ほき。
Sojiro was on his way home from his part-time job after school. It was 4 in the afternoon, 2 hours earlier than his part-time job would have normally ended. The Mad Bear's head chef had gotten in trouble with the accountant for making a student work the day before exams, thus Sojiro's boss had tearfully sent him home early. And that is when it happened. The interruption to his standard schedule must have been just the shock he needed. Normally he would meet up with Aoko after she was done with the student council affairs and go home with her. However, today Sojiro was asking the other students who worked at the same place if they knew any shops in the area where he could buy a broom.
田舎者の趣味って理解不能ね。推強すぎ。うちの近くにまっついラーメン屋あるでしょ。あそこの通りを終わりまで行けば起きたって金物店がある。一式揃えるなら西口のホームセンターより安く上がるわ。どうでもいいけど、私のチャリ使う？どうせ試験明けまで使わないし。
Sojiro's eyes lit up as if he had met his savior, but biking uphill to the mansion, let alone with a package to carry, was not a pretty thought.
いや、自転車には乗ってみたいけど、今回は遠慮するよ。じゃあ、また明日、学校で。
Alright everyone, I'm gonna end the video here for today. Thank you all for watching. When we come back, we're probably gonna expect to see Sojiro, you know, clean the mansion as a gift to Alice and hopefully win her favor. But we'll see.